two, three, four.
Hi everyone, this is Jewish Talk, coming to you from Nassau Community College on 90.3 WHBC, also streaming on the iHeart and the iTunes app. This program is later archived on Spreaker.com. So hi there, my name is Rabbi Perl. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This all depends on when you are listening. First, I'd like to clear the air. With all this coronavirus going on, I have the following concerns. Anyone else's car getting 3 weeks to the gallon now? The other question I got the other day is, anyone know how many days we need to pray or daven at our home before we can file for a tax-exempt status as a place of worship? And the third question that I received was, this gentleman has been very religious about washing his hands ever since Purim. Every day he washes his hands again and again and again. And his question was, does anyone know when we can start taking a shower again? Or should we keep just washing our hands? Now, I was very, very impressed by his question. I said, you know what, to be on the safe side, why don't you wait until the holiday of Shavuos? And then definitely it should be no problem for you. So the question I wanted to discuss today is, of course, with the rise of the mask, are we losing our face? Smile, they say, and the world smiles with you. Unless you're wearing a mask, then the world can't see your smile, much less smile back. So we all know people are shielding their mouths and our noses from taking in and, guarding ourselves from this insidious virus. So, however good the reason is, that still creates a kind of a distortion for me. And I'll tell you why. Because instead of being able to openly speak to somebody, because our faces are covered over, I feel like an astronaut or a deep sea diver or a hazmat removal team. So because of this face mask, it's taken away half of my face. And of course, our moment-to-moment human interactions when I speak to somebody. I was thinking to myself as I went to the post office the other day is, how do I know that all these people around me who are wearing the mask are not sticking their tongues out at me? I mean, how do I know? This is a very serious question. You think I'm joking. When it comes to removing these visual cues that we typically had, for millennia, we've been able to communicate ourselves. We can look at each other, we can speak to each other, you can see each other's faces, we have our common ground. Take a look next time you go out shopping. You have all these spaced out lines. People themselves look like they're spaced out, and they're spaced out lines, and they're outside our favorite establishments. Chatting is muted. The sidewalk steps, when I walk to shul or when I walk outside, for some reason, everybody's like, it has this awkward feeling. You go first, I go first, and our facial expressions are not really facial expressions at all. Everybody looks the same. Now, if you take just a small inventory of what we've lost because we're hiding ourselves behind the masks, look, we've lost a smile, we've lost a frown, we've lost a lip movement, we've lost the ability to crinkle our mouth's edge. We can't show our cheeks, which would typically indicate approval or disapproval. And, even the reflexive gestures that we do with our eyes are not clear anymore. Like, with your eyes, sometimes you could say, I mean no harm, or back off. All this stuff is gone. Now, another thing, as I say, I don't even know people are looking at me kind of funny. Are they sticking their tongue out? I mean, all this mask blocking my face. Is the person smiling? Are they being sarcastic? Are they happy to see me? I can't figure it out. What's going on here? With the masks, when people are making eye contact, you don't know if they're friendly or not. So I've lost my whole communications channel that's typical to us as human beings. It's kind of dull. It's kind of really, it turns me off a little bit. Now, usually when you see other people, you're able to smile. It gives you a perception of warmth, of competence, of trustworthiness, attractiveness. It's all gone. Forget about it. It's gone. With all these cues are off now, we look at each other kind of differently. Typically, the face is the gateway to who we are. It's the kind of front door to our humanity and our individuality. Right? We mouth off. We have FaceTime. We can pay lip service. We can give each other the lip. Garnish. We can grin. We can bear it. All this stuff is on the wayside, at least for now. That's the reason why sometimes masks suggest nefariousness, right? We think of a guy walking around with a mask is some sort of a robber, God forbid. So when we cover our faces, it kind of presents us kind of a shorthand for mistrust or a menace. So in short, all these masks that we're wearing, obviously we're doing it for our safety, but in a certain sense, in a deeper sense, it kind of alienates us one from the other. And let me tell you what happened. I experienced this a few days before Passover. We delivered many Seder to go, which was a whole package of the Seder plate with a little bit of food, etc. And thanks to all of you who helped us in our pre-Passover campaign, we were able to afford to help many elderly people across Nassau County. So here I was. I went to a home in Farmingdale. I went to a home in Levittown. I went to other people all by themselves. And here I was, walking around, not only with my beard, I got to wear a mask on top of it. I couldn't show any empathy. I had this mask, and all I was a delivery man. I couldn't say nothing, even if I said Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem Shalom, nothing. My face is covered over. I couldn't show any empathy. I couldn't show any kindness. There's something surreal about dealing with someone who really can't smile. It's exactly the opposite of what you want that exchange to be. You don't want it to be some sort of a transactional exchange. I wasn't the Amazon delivery guy. I was a local Chabad guy trying to wish people a good yontiv and make them feel good. I couldn't do it. They were scared of me. I was scared of them. It was like a hello through the door. So you want a relationship, which raises the question: if this endures, if you keep on going like this for weeks and months, if half of our face is obscured by these face masks, oy gewalt, how are we going to get those messages through? What's going to be here? You bet on one thing. Until the masks end, things are going to be awkward. For now, though, we still have our eyes. Right? At least we have our eyes. Have you heard, dear friends? Eyes are the windows to the soul. The important point is not to rely on any one visual cue. Right? If you furrow our eyebrows, this could mean a person's angry. Someone's confused. Someone else doesn't, another person, if you see someone's eyes are kind of furrowed, it could be that he's squinting, he forgot his glasses. So I thought maybe as a little fun, we would discuss why a Jewish bride wears a veil on her face, right? You go to a wedding, a traditional wedding, the kala wears a veil. Now, why is she wearing her mask, her veil? Goes back to ancient times. Goes way back, my friends, that the Jewish bride wears a veil. The Mishnah actually tells us, which was completed in the 2nd century, it records the custom of Jewish brides wearing a veil. But in truth, the custom goes back even further than the Mishnah times. Right in the Torah, right in the Bible. We all know what Bible stands for. Basic instructions before leaving earth. So the Bible tells us that the soon-to-be married Rebecca, when she first beheld her groom, which was Isaac, our forefather Isaac, Rivka, when she saw him, she took a veil and she covered herself. Right in the Torah. So right there and then, all the way back, we have the idea that the bride puts on a mask, a veil. So now we know it goes back so long. Why indeed? What's the reason? Why do you find this? Well, there are a number of reasons I want to share with you. In general, it's not proper for a man to oogle at a woman, or even her clothing or jewelry. However, one is permitted to gaze at the beautiful clothing jewelry of a bride in order to make her more beloved by her future husband. But even so, it's not proper to gaze at her face. Therefore, the custom is to cover the face with a veil. Another important thing is why the bride's vision is obstructed during the marriage ceremony is for her to show that she isn't overly concerned about the exact monetary value of the ring her husband is giving her, which really demonstrate that she's entering into the union with full intent to be married, even if the ring turns out to be worth less than she originally envisioned. Another reason why she wears a veil is to show that from this moment on, her beauty is to be shared exclusively with her husband and Fatik. Another beautiful reason is when Moses came down the mountain after the sin of the golden calf, his face was so bright, nobody could look at him. He started to wear a veil. In fact, I'm going to tell you something. There's a rumor going around that all the board of directors of synagogues throughout Long Island have decided when this passes by, they're going to insist that their rabbis continue during their sermons not to wear a mask, but a muzzle. A muzzle of a cup. Why would they want to keep them under a muzzle? I asked the board of directors, why would you want me to wear a muzzle during the sermon? He said, you sound better. There you go, dear friend. You think life is so easy to be a rabbi. So Moses come down the mountain, and his face was shining, and he had to wear a veil anytime he spoke to us. Guess what? When the bride and the groom is standing under the chuppah, they're in an elevated state. In fact, every Jewish wedding is a reenactment of that union of Hashem with us with the Jewish people at Mount Sinai. Guess what? Like Moses, the women did not take part in the sin of the golden calf. Therefore, the bride, just like Moses come down the mountain and was shining with special holiness, so too the divine presence, the Shekhinah, which is the feminine aspect of God, shines from the face of every bride. And just like Moses, so too she therefore wears a veil because of the importance of the glow of holiness that emanates from the Kala, from the bride. Another reason is because during the chuppah, all eyes are on the bride and the groom, so we cover her face so no one will view her jealously and give her an ayin hara, an evil eye. Of course, the other reason is because the beauty is is for the groom to realize that he's not marrying her for her external beauty, but the depth of who she is and the wonderful life they will live together. So you see, my dear friends, there are some positive sides to the veil. Now, of course, when you think about veils, I'm sure all are realizing, in Jewish life, we have Purim. And with Purim, everybody wears veils. I don't know if you remember this, but, just after Purim, just about Purim is when this serious virus began. And we in our synagogue at Chabad of Mineola, we actually celebrated the raging, what is it called? The raging 20s. Purim in the roaring 20s. Can you imagine? We all were dressed in somewhat, that period. So we wore different kinds of masks. Now, why is that? Why is Purim associated with wearing masks? Because just like the mask covers us up, the whole holiday of Purim, God's name isn't mentioned in the Megillah. It's a kind of a very hidden kind of holiday. So we dress up to hide ourselves, just like God hid himself in the story of the Megillah. Of course, when you hide, of course, that you still exist. And so too on Purim. It's an act of faith that we demonstrate that even when presence of God is hidden from us, he's always there. But you know what? Not just on Purim, but today, especially during these difficult times, every day we use our dress to disguise or as a means of hiding and revealing ourselves. So just as Purim is about hiddenness, it's also a reminder to us that we should also overcome the obstacles, all the concealed things that are going on, and recognize and celebrate the miracles of our life. And of course, the point is to recognize that while things are hidden, it's not the ideal state of things. It's a mask, right? We don't look forward to wearing our mask the whole time. It's just under these circumstances. The goal, of course, is to reveal the hiddenness, to get this mask off our faces. And that's exactly what Purim was, Megillas Esther, Esther means to Hester, hidden. Megillah means to reveal. The whole purpose of Purim, as an example, was to remind us the Megillah, to reveal all the hidden things for us to be able to see the goodness in this world, to be able to reveal. So there's no question that hiding parts of ourselves is not only healthy but vital, depending on the circumstances, right? We should conceal our personal feelings or ideas in certain situations. At work, it's not a place to start sharing our political leanings or concerns, any more than our children should be privy to the private conversations that we have with our spouses. So we hide a part of ourselves in order to be able to reveal the part of ourselves that is appropriate and necessary for the one we're connecting to. But it doesn't mean that these other parts aren't there or are not important. So with Hashem's help, when we come out of this corona, and even in advance of that, let's celebrate the miracles of our life, both that are revealed and, even more importantly, those that are concealed. And let's remember that even though we're all wearing masks, it doesn't mean that we've lost the real person behind it. But even more so, make sure that every once in a while you take the time to just be you, all of ourselves, with someone who gets it, knows it, and loves it. And therefore, many years ago on our telethon, Hanukkah telethon, we invited Henny Youngman. You may remember. This is the days when we had our program out of Manhattan, the Manhattan Center, and Henny Youngman showed up. And of course, he's most famous for his one-liners. And one of the most famous ones that he has, that's stuck in my mind, is "Take my wife, please." So I said to myself, "Oh Hashem, please take my mask, please." And I just published a list of kosher and not so kosher face masks. Of course, the list of kosher ones are simple. They're all the masks that we're wearing to help us shield our mouths and our noses from this insidious virus that causes the COVID-19. But more challenging is the collection of what I call the 4 not so kosher face masks that must be quickly discarded. So here I know I'm bursting your bubble, dear friends, but I'm asking you to get rid of the following face masks. Number 1 is the mask of self-containment. What do I mean? We don't want to be independent. We don't want to be dependent on anybody. We don't even want to connect with others because we're afraid of being hurt. So guess what? We wear this mask of self-containment. We tell ourselves we are fine just on our own. But God created us with a deep spiritual yearning to connect to others. Look what happened on Pesach. Everybody had to find ways on how to, celebrate Pesach with being alone. It was difficult. It was difficult, especially with people who mamish. One person, my dear mother, sat alone in her Brooklyn home by herself. And she has children a few miles away, but we're all separate. Because each one of us have a deep yearning to connect to others. We do need each other. And none of us can live happily and successfully without families, without friends, without our communities. So the number 1, dear friends, take off that defensive mask. Forget about it. Number 2, we have a mask of busyness. We're busy. Busy. What, you're busy? Every day we're busy. We're distracted by our masks of busyness because life is hectic. It's hard to focus. Enough with this mask. We must transcend the limits of our ordinary days. We have to learn to overcome the mundane distractions and appreciate the blessings, the beauty of the people, and the abundance of wonderful blessings that surround us. Yes, even under these circumstances, I'm sure you will agree, there's an abundance of blessings. The fact that you and me can talk right now is an amazing blessing. And number 3 is the mask of materialism. Yeah, materialism. We get mired down in the materialism of our lives. We wear masks of identifying with just our bodies. The mask of our cars. The mask of how green our grass is on the outside. But this is all surface stuff. They're just objects in our lives. And if a person just looks at the surface and thinks, this narrows our vision. We must try to project an open face and our minds, glowing with the joy of living with our souls, with our neshamas. In Hebrew, the Hebrew word for face is panim. And the root of the word panim is pnim, inwards, inside. As opposed to the English language of face is from the word facial. A external surface, on the surface kind of thing. We're not talking about facades. A face is the entry to our souls. So sometimes we get rid of those masks to allow our real souls to shine. And the fourth mask, of course, is the mask of doubt. Life is so full of so much uncertainty and so many challenges. So much of our lives don't seem to make any sense. We walk around wearing masks of doubt. We say we believe in God, but then we say it's randomness, disconnection. So, dear friends, take my mask, please. Take off this mask too and revel. Let's all of us revel and shine in the divine providence, Hashgacha Pratis of our lives. Let us all not ever be ashamed to face our real self, taking off these masks that block us from everything that is real. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm sharing with you today on our program. So, as we would say, with the rise of the mask, let's not lose face. Now, in this week's Torah portion, we read all about a Kohen. And I really want to pause for a moment and say thank you. Thank you to this great station, WHBC 90.3, WHBC, coming out of Nassau Community College. Throughout this very difficult time, they go out of their way to make sure that we can come to you each and every week. And all the other programs here on this great station. It doesn't come easy. It comes with effort behind the scenes to be able to allow me and all the other hosts and all the other student work to be able to come on a daily basis, an hourly basis. So I want to take the opportunity to thank the station manager, Sean, and my engineer, Kim, and everybody behind the scenes in making this available. And I want to thank you, the wonderful listening audience who come each week to join us on this journey together. So this week I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we read about on this yesterday. Each week, as you know, we study one of the Torah portions. And this week we actually did two. Two became one. And it tells us all about a very dynamic situation in biblical times. There could be a situation where a person must call in a Kohen, a priest, to determine whether the person has the tsaras. That tsaras is a Hebrew word. It's kind of a leprosy. It's not a physical leprosy. It's not contagious. It's actually a physical ailment, but it has a spiritual implication. Who would catch such a leprosy, such as tsaras? It would be someone who spread lashon hara, evil talk. Now, the person would present himself to a Kohen, not a doctor. And this doctor, this Kohen, he would be the one to pronounce the person pure or the opposite. It all depends on the Kohen's examination. So again, I'm trying to make it clear to everybody that we're not talking about a physical condition. It's a spiritual condition that sees itself in a spiritual way. And you don't go to the urgent care, although the urgent care will certainly bill your insurance for the visit, but they can do nothing for you. The only place to determine whether this was a tsaras or not was by a Kohen. And if it was determined it was pure, you went home. If not, you go through a whole process of purification and quarantine until it was gotten rid of. What I wanted to share with you at this moment, I couldn't think about going to a doctor for the annual medical examination. Right? We call it the physical. We go there, we do this routine checkup, the height, the weight, the blood pressure, cholesterol, the stress test, the treadmill, up and down, ganze mice. You know what I'm talking about. So just as the Torah tells us about a situation, biblical times, a person had to go to see a Kohen, there was this spiritual person, the priest, who would have to make a physical examination of the body. I was just wondering how, perhaps during this interesting period of time when we're thinking a lot and being more thoughtful about not just going for a physical, but also going for a spiritual, where we can spend more time thinking about that. What's our height? Do we walk tall? Are we proud of who we are? Are we apologetically stooped or bent over the burden of having some sort of inferior complex? What is our weight? Are we well balanced in our diet of Torah learning, the sustenance of our souls? Do we suffer from spiritual malnutrition? Another question in our spiritual as opposed to our physical is, how's our heart doing? Our heart doesn't only pump blood. Our heart, of course, pumps warmth and love. A healthy heart is the emotional center of a person. It emotes and feels the pains of others. A healthy heart is inspired by events that point unmistakably to the hands of God in the world, which is certainly the world we live in right now. If we aren't feeding what we should be, maybe we're suffering from, God forbid, blocked arteries in the spiritual sense. When the doctor takes our blood pressure for a man, it reminds me of the tefillin. So it's important. It's very, very important to think. That's how I'm thinking right now, dear friends, that we're going through a very, very important time where we all pray to Hashem for good health and for recovery for everybody who has the virus. But at the end of the day, we must do our own little checkup on our own spirituality as well and appreciate what we have. There's a story told where a simple farmer went for his first medical checkup. When the doctor checked his pressure, he asked him, "What's that all about?" The doctor explained that he's checking his heart. "But why are you holding my arm if you want to see how my heart is?" So the doctor says, "When I check your hand, I know how your heart is." And he went on to explain, the hand that gives charity, for example, indicates if there's a healthy heart. And of course, the idea is to see that. Of course, the treadmill, life can be like a tedious treadmill. We find ourselves running and going nowhere fast. A grueling rat race, when even if we win, you're still a rat. All of this leaves us wondering, what's it all about? And why we're working so hard with no meaningful consequential reward. So I'm saying during these very, very unprecedented times, why don't we think that not only are we thinking about our physical, I mean, God bless us with good health. That's what this whole month of Iyar, the Jewish month of Iyar, this is a month of tremendous energy for recovery, a quick recovery, and even to not even have any deal with any illnesses. But at the same time, we must also, not only physically, but we also, in a sense, ourselves, consider doing our own spiritual. To look at ourselves and look out, make sure that every part of our spirituality has a healthy characteristic, to look out for our growth points, and in a sense, during this extra time that we all have, to be able to see this spirituality and a program that helps ourselves and our souls. And may Hashem bless that all of us continue be healthy physically and spiritually. This is your host, Rabbi Perl. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful, safe week and a good and Kodesh, blessed with all the good things, both physically and spiritually.